My name is Misty Barrett and I live in Florence, South Carolina. I have a husband and a daughter and a son. I got married June of 2010 and we decided to have a child about a year after we got married. Luke was in the NICU for about 7 days after he was born for respiratory distress syndrome, and he came home and everything was pretty good after that. He was in football, did soccer, baseball, so pretty active and normal up until I got a call from the school in January of 2024. The principal told me he was at recess and he came in and he was sitting at his desk and he fell out of his chair and one of the students went and got the teacher. And I could tell in her voice that it was emergent. And I started crying and she said, "We've called EMS and we need to know where to take them." And I told her to bring them to MUSC since I was already there working. And my husband came, and while we were waiting on the radio, I heard that they were bringing in an 11-year-old boy that was pulseless at school and they had to shock him twice. And my husband collapsed to the floor when they heard that he was pulseless. I was standing in the middle of the hall when that stretcher rolled in and he was sitting up smiling at me, and that just made my heart smile so big. And he said, "Hey, Mama." He was in Charleston about 7 days so they could observe him and put him on the correct dosage of medicine, and they put an internal cardiac defibrillator in. So when he came home, we tried to get back to life as we knew it until June the 3rd when we were riding our golf cart and it broke down about 1.5 miles from home and we had to walk home in the heat. That put his heart rate up really high, and after we got home, he sat down in the chair for about 10 minutes and then he said, "Mama, it's about to happen." And then he blacked out and I could tell that the defibrillator was shocking him and he didn't have a pulse, he wasn't breathing, he was blue. 200 pounds of dead weight in the chair, that adrenaline was pumping in my body, and I just pulled him right out of that chair and started CPR. I was telling the dispatcher, I said, "He's gone, he's gone, he's not breathing, he's gone." And I was crying, but I was trying to focus on doing what I needed to do. And when they were rolling him out to the ambulance, I said, "Is he still alive?" They didn't answer. They said it's in God's hands. He's got a lot of anxiety, which is normal, about doing things, activities. It's getting better. He's real good about knowing when to take his medicine. I always make sure he takes it, but he'll remind me. And he knows his limitations. I didn't know that my son had hypertrophic cardiomyopathy because he'd had no symptoms beforehand. And I'm so thankful that both times he had a cardiac arrest, that there was people in place that knew what to do. So after all this happened, I learned that Florence District 1 Schools was the only school in the state that has a cardiac emergency plan. And I'm so thankful my son was at a school that did, because if he was at another school in South Carolina, he wouldn't be here right now. I'm grateful to share my story with the American Heart Association because we're trying to get a bill passed and make sure that all schools in South Carolina are prepared for cardiac emergencies and have people in place that know CPR and have AEDs in place to save people's lives, including children and employees. Luke is my baby, and he's very smart, has straight A's in school, and I'm very grateful he's alive because he survived 2 events in 6 months. So I know that God has a purpose for his life, and I can't wait to see what it is.